Good morning, everyone. How are we? Some familiar faces out there. Nice to see. Hey, Martin, how you going? So this really came about as a meeting that Shelley came to the city about a couple of years back, and we're just telling her what we're doing. She's going, "Oh, this is really great. We'll get you to do a presentation." So eventually we got here. So thanks for that, Shelley. And I guess just reflecting on that, and I've got some sort of slides at the end around our success measures, but I think what it sort of showed to me that there was a few key areas, and that was the city was working together in cross-functional teams to deliver our water-sensitive urban design program from start to finish. So we had engineering design, works, landscape, all our streetscapes guys all supportive of this type of approach. And there was a real willingness to try new things, innovate and see, oh, how can we do that? And I think the city supported that through funding and resources to enable this to occur, which is always obviously something that can be a bit of a barrier. So just a quick look at our assets, if you like. So we've got about 352 kilometres of pipes, 15,000 pits, 70 GPTs or gross pollutant traps, 84 fence sumps, and a whole lot of other open space compensation basins and bubbles up and other types of infrastructure. So there's quite a bit in there to manage our stormwater. Generally speaking, we've got, apart from near the wetland areas, we've got pretty sandy soils, so there is that opportunity for infiltration. So looking at, I guess, where we see our major opportunities, some of that is around our asset renewal and upgrade programs. So we have different asset management plans, parks, irrigation that we follow to help us with our planning. And just for an example, in our capital works program, we spend, so we've got a total budget of around about 100 million, and of that, about 1.5 million is on capital renewal of our drainage infrastructure, and about 700,000 a year is on upgrade and new capital infrastructure in our drainage. And our maintenance program is around about $1.3 million a year. So they're not insignificant funding that we've provided, so we're keen to make sure we reduced, I guess, the impacts of drainage management that leads to flooding and other impacts. So we've done some, just how I'll just cover on this, I'll talk a bit about the living streams and the swales, a bit around our sump retrofit program, some of our gully infill work, and then just looking at pit and pipe maintenance, just to give you an idea of where the sorts of maintenance activities that are being undertaken. So the living streams, I know lots of local governments do this, so we had one particular one in Brentwood that was done in partnership with the local community and NRM groups in this area, and that's shown to be really successful in terms of basically rewilding a open drain and bringing back, and we use that as a bit of a demonstration site to show other people what can be done in translating an open drain channel into a living stream. And the talks in about habitat and about wildlife, we are definitely seeing a lot of increased biodiversity in that area. So the other ones we've been looking at is roadside swales. So instead of putting it into a side entry pit and piping it out to the river, we're looking at letting the water flow off into these swales and then gradually soak through to the water. So there's a whole bunch of, I guess, benefits we see of that. Obviously improving water quality going into the river, and also provides us an opportunity to plant out in these areas and create shade. And also we've found that we don't need to go to a lot of extent in terms of putting in rushes and sedges and all that sort of stuff to get the water quality improvements. It seems to be happening just by putting in a fairly modest type of re-veg, but we have got areas where we have done quite significant re-veg to achieve multiple outcomes in this area as well. So some of the other swales that we've got, so car parks, Bicton Bars is that top one there, and then we did a Links Road project, a safe active street, and we used that opportunity to basically shed all the water off into these open swales. This is taken about a year and a half ago, so this is all grown and the trees are growing, so it's really created quite an amazing environment which was in reality quite a harsh streetscape because you've got the large path to connect a couple of schools. We're also just recently doing some sump retrofits. So in this case, we've brought in a 140,000 litre bladder essentially and located it adjacent to the main inflow into the compensation basin, and have taken water off that, which is then pumped into this bag and provides us with some additional storage. And we're using that mainly for tree watering and for construction and maintenance watering, so dust suppression. And also around the actual fence, we took the opportunity to upgrade that and have put in themed artwork around biodiversity, and made sure that through this works we retained all the trees in this area, which are a part of a key area of our comp basins, is that we have them revegetated and try and minimise the area we have to get in and clean out and disturb. This project's pretty exciting. This is our gully infill and renewal program. So what we learnt is that we had a couple of really big storm events where we had water lower down the landscape just not being able to cope with the infrastructure there. So we're having stormwater lids popping up, big concrete lids like this just popping up, and a whole lot of properties flooded, and also other infrastructure damage. So we realised we have to go back up into the landscape, back up into the catchment, and start storing higher up to actually have less water going into the system. So these are sort of designed as they fill up, water gets shedded off to the side to store, so that it holds it up, and then it just soaks through the ground while the main pipe still takes most of the load. So we've installed about 150 of these to date, and I will say that we will keep putting these in because they've actually shown to be very effective, and actually the way we've done it, quite good for maintenance as well. So this has really helped reduce our flooding incidents that we've had through a couple of events we had in the last couple of years before it stopped raining. So our pit and pipe maintenance, so this is where we get in and make sure our pipes are operating effectively and our pits are doing what they should in terms of trap sediments and rubbish and other organic matter. And we have a tender that we put out every year for this, or on an ongoing basis. We've vacuumed and cleaned about 5,000 pits, and we've completed up to basically 12,000 metres of CCTV pipe inspections, so sending these cameras up the pipes to see what's going on, and you find big roots in there and you have to get in there and clean them out and stuff. And we've jetted out about 3,000 metres of pipe, so that's where you clean them up, and then we can go back and monitor to see that they're still clear. And we've relined about a kilometre of pipes per year in this, and that's basically sheathing the inside of the pipe with a really hard plastic liner that roots can't get through, and I've surprised myself that they held up, but all trees around them, and they still are keeping the roots out and operating in still in a circular fashion, not being pushed in by the roots as well. And we generally try and get our GPTs cleaned out twice a year, so pre-winter and post-winter, and that seems to be able to keep our water quality in where we need to be. So we've looked at also some opportunities for greater infiltration at source, on the road surface basically, and we've got a number of projects looking at permeable paving, and that has shown to significantly reduce some of the work that we're doing in these areas. And we've used some specialist advice around the use of the paving, and also identified areas where we think we can do it and significantly reduce the pressure on the drainage system. So we've completed a couple of projects, a road project and a major streetscape and road project. We're looking at a rec centre, a car park, which is quite a large one, and we're looking at Mooring Road, which is a local activity centre, and so this will be permeable paving over an activated area where there's people and cafes and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that goes. So the other thing we're doing is really increasing our tree canopy. So we've got quite a significant guess, tree planting program. We plant around 3,500 trees a year. And we just did a recent study that showed that over the last 5 years we've planted about 80 hectares of tree canopy, but in that same period we've lost about 110 hectares on private land. So we're really trying to push that private land thing, and with recent developments it's been a bit of a struggle, but we're still pushing away at that. And really looking at how we can keep trees and plant trees to reduce the impact on infrastructure. So part of that, again, using specialist consultants to help us, and looking at areas where we can sort of more or less encapsulate trees in a, I guess, a gravel type infrastructure or setting where we can encourage the roots to go down and not out and up. And the couple of trials we've done so far have been really, really effective at doing that. So I guess some of the key success factors, I guess, when I'm looking at the broader picture, is probably this sort of work is now business as usual for us. So it's just part of our normal day practice. Our teams understand the benefits, and I note some of them here in the room are obviously here to continue to learn, so that's great. There's obviously that close collaboration between teams and our contractors, and we're very clear about our goals and put in our specifications for any contracts. This is what we want, so there's no ambiguity around that. We've got really good process planning right through from selection of places and design to working with the teams right through to delivery. And our contract management, we are ensuring that it's delivering what we want, and have got a monitoring and measurement program that backs that up, just to check how that things are performing as they are. So where till next? So I think we'll continue to invest in our green infrastructure to try and increase our tree canopy, provide more biodiversity, and really look at making the best use of that to help combat climate change. We're also looking at further permeable paving installations. We're updating our asset management system to recognise water sensitive design as a separate category, and then we can have an asset management plan that's focused on that. And we're also looking at that infill gully and other opportunities there to get better infiltration up in the catchment to reduce the impact or reduce the volumes of the main drainage system. And we'll continue to walk across the business to do that. And I guess that's been helpful for myself as being an environmental scientist, but overseeing the Environment and Infrastructure Directorate, is that I demand that our people work together, because we've got to get triple bottom line outcomes, not just moving water as quickly as we can. It's got to be ways to be more sustainable. And we've just got this catchment management software that's able to give us very accurate information about the hydraulics around our drainage system, our storage capacity within the pipes, and we'll be able to tweak things to see what's going to make a big difference to that. And so this is going to be really helpful to combine with our program. And we're also doing a stormwater environment management strategy, which is a very high level document, but that's identified out of our 130 or so receptors in the environment, that's compensation basins or bubble ups or whatever. About 80% of those need additional storage volume. So we're now looking at how we achieve that through either infill or enlarging the basin if that's possible, but really looking at how we can provide that to cater for the 1 in 100 year, or I think they call it 1 AEP now, 1% AP. So really to really get that 1 in 100 year storm event so that it doesn't impact flooding on properties. So that's it.